On the menu today,
Oh no.
You ordered a muscle-bound hunk?
Hello there, chip printers, and welcome to another episode of Perifractic's Retro Recipes. On today's episode, I embark on a new endeavor, and I thought I should take you with me. Now, sitting in this room surrounded by all of these noteworthy retro computers, I figured it was time for me to have my own. Now, I could comb through Fleabay for an oldie but a goodie, but I figured it's my job to bring the modern into retro recipes by 3D printing my own computer. I found the perfect project on thingiverse.com, my usual unsponsored go-to website for 3D print projects. This is the Callisto 2 fully printable retro computer by LowBudgetTech, powered by a Raspberry Pi 4. There are a few different shapes and sizes available for anybody who wants to make their own. So let's get started. Let's go. I've loaded the thingiverse.com website with my Callisto 2 retro printable computer. As you can see, the summary has some interesting details, and it has the website for the operating system, and we have, even more importantly, the material list.
Enhance.
We'll get to that in just a little bit. This has 16 thingy files, which are the ones that we would download to 3D print. Now, we aren't going to use all 16 of them because this gives you the options to print with a logo, without, and options for different size keyboards. As I loaded everything into my Ultimaker Cura, the printing was pretty straightforward. The only difference was that I needed to set up using tree supports instead of the normal kind. And the only aspect of putting it into Ultimaker Cura that was problematic was that the instructions said that the overhang angle needed to be 90 degrees, but as you can see, I had to lower it all the way down to 80. And unfortunately, I don't know the program well enough to know how bad it would mess things up, so I just went as low as I could possibly go and then just crossed my fingers and hoped for the best. Getting back to our shopping list, I quickly went onto Amazon and typed in as many of the items as I could find. Now, this screen was not the exact same one, but I double-checked the measurements and again crossed my fingers and wished for the best. This USB charging station was also not the one listed, but again, how bad could it be? Here we have the final list ordered and ready to go. Now we just have to wait for it to arrive. Until then, we'll start printing. We're off to a really good start. This printer is really impressive with what it can do. It's all fun and games until the filament gets snagged on the reel, and then it stops feeding into the machine, which means that it just keeps going and going, but nothing prints, because nothing's coming out. This happened a total of 7 times. Each of my pieces takes a little over a day to print, so you can imagine my frustration when I had to start over and over. This is the filament that I used. Can I recommend it? No. It might work for you, but I'm gonna give it a hard no. I ended up having to order a second reel because I wasted half of the entire roll on my failed attempts. But this one, as you can see, was successfully printed. And here we are. I left the very last piece on Oh no. My magnet. I left the very last piece of the 3D print still on the board so that we can get some nice cracking action. We have all of the pieces. They have not been cleaned or processed, but we'll do that now. I also printed out the instructions, which I've only glanced through. And we've got our Amazon package that I have not yet opened. And we have the Raspberry Pi, and set all of that aside for later. All right, this is the final piece. I believe this is the top left. I do have the Lotmax Shark 2, I believe, 3D printer. And overall, it's been pretty great. There's always a learning curve with 3D printers, and really with any appliances. Let's make sure we have all 7 pieces. And here are the pegs and the little raft it came on. Let's get to cleaning. Please follow the step-by-step pictures on how to assemble the parts. Warning, parts may be sharp, handle with care. All right, let's clean this up. I'm trying desperately hard not to break this because, as I mentioned before, each one took at least a day to print. I've never actually had these types of support. I believe these are called tree supports. It's definitely a different texture than anything I've tried to break. Oh ho ho. But we got it. I didn't see that before. All right, all fingers intact. All right. This oddly feels like pulling teeth. Oh, don't tell Perifractic that I bent his tweezers. Good as new. I need... I have to be careful since this is not my workbench and I'm just renting the time and space. It's fine. Oops. Now this one, something went wrong, but it still is the right shape, and I'm sure we can salvage this. Ow, ooh, that's sharp. I've no doubt that this occurred during one of my many failed print sessions. I don't want to mess with this too much. It's going to be in the back, and I just can't be bothered. If there is a technique for this, I don't know it. Ow. Oh, that hurt my finger. Oh. Print a computer, she said. It would be easy, she said. It's not. Yep, that's gonna bleed. Urgh. Ow. Ooh, that really hurt. Right on the knuckle. Dang it. Yep, battle wound. Oh, all right. And of course, that one was much faster. This is the lid, and it's either going to be really fun or a nightmare. I think this would be the best tool. The only thing is that it's very, very sharp. So the goal is not to skewer my own hand. Nope. Are you supervising? Making sure I don't hurt myself? Thank you. Hello. Okay. Okay, that only took 40 minutes. 40 minutes later. Okay, gather all 7 parts, 25 pins, and 5 screen holders. Hammer pins into one side of front parts. This is a front part. This is also a front part. Here are our pins. Looks like not every hole is gonna get a peg, and that's okay. Hammer? Where am I gonna get a hammer from? No. Connect the 2 front pieces together. Okay. Step 2, connect the 2 back pieces together. Ooh. Step 5, gather the electronics. We have a Raspberry Pi and so we have a power hub, more power. I believe the monitor. And a keyboard. So we gathered the electronics. Place the PSU and USB into their slots. Now these aren't exact because Amazon did not have the exact ones. Our first problem is this does not, I can't even get the plug through, which is problematic. And this doesn't disconnect. So let's try to widen this. Ugh, I got it. This does not fit perfectly in here, but what if I take these off? Ow. Perfect. There. And then this guy, again, stuck to my microphone. This originally says to use this to hold it in place, but it's too thick, so I'm just gonna go for using just the peg. Connect the two halves together, be patient, and don't force too much. Ah! Oh my gosh. Calling in for some reinforcements. Reinforcements? Hello.
You ordered a muscle-bound hunk?
I did. I cannot push it down.
So you can't get the thing in the hole?
I can't get, yeah.
Careful, doggo. So, just a straight push should
Yep.
do it? It's looking good. Ready?
Yeah.
You want to step back in case it
Yeah.
slips?
Watch your fingies and tingies. Everybody back up.
Ready?
Yeah. Oh, the table looks like it's gonna break.
You didn't want the table to break?
No. Yep.
And if I hit it?
No, I've been whacking it. Yeah.
Ta-da!
That's the good stuff. Thank you.
Come on, you muscle-bound dog. Let's go.
Back to our regular scheduled programming. Gather 2 top pieces and the hatch piece. Connect the hatch to one of the sides. Okay. Now the scary part. Here's the monitor. Again, this is a different screen, electrostatic sensitive, and only to use on a static-free workstation. Well, lucky for us, this is a static-free workstation. This monitor did not come fully put together like I'm sure the original one that they were intending us to use. So this one I get to put together the PCB and the monitor. And as you know, you too can make your own PCBs with our friends at PCB Way, where you can make your PCBs for just under $5. And as we all know, PCB stands for Printed Computer Base, doesn't it? We're gonna take our PCB
Way
and connect the monitor. Clip that down. We've got our power buttons. This guy goes into here. And then last one, and power. So the instruction says, carefully slide the screen into the top groove first and then push it away from you until it fully rests in the screen cutout. The monitor in there. I'm just putting this to hold it in place. got a monitor in. It says finally drop the keyboard into the keyboard holder. Now it's been a little while since I ordered this, so I'm not actually sure which one I got. Wow, look at that. Finally drop the keyboard into the keyboard holder. And there we have it. The outer shell and screen are done. And here we have the finished case. Now it's not perfect, but it is my first attempt. As you saw, I had a few complications. One of the most aggravating things was that the filament would snag on the reel, which I'd never experienced before in previous prints, so it definitely caught me off guard. I'd even try to unravel the spool, try to make it easier, try to make it easier for it to come out. Do you want to see? I know, look at the tragedy. Now this happened countless times. And each of these pieces takes over 24 hours. So it was definitely testing my patience. But again, eventually we got there. Thank you for joining us on part 1 of this endeavor. Make sure you stay tuned for part 2 when I install this Raspberry Pi 4 and the web-based operating system, and answer the real question that everybody really wants to know. Can it run Doom? Thank you so much. Subscribe and support below, and cheerio. Bye. For part 2 when I install. I'm gonna kiss my boo-boo. Thank you. Chip printers, and welcome to another episode of Perifractic